Chair recognizes Mr. Lynch.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I just want to say our federal budget reflects our values. When we fund the VA, so it's not just about numbers. It's about the mission and the purpose of our budget.
With all due respect, you do understand our federal budget is $2.5 trillion in
Reclaiming
debt.
my time, though.
I know,
I'm just saying,
but our values, we
reclaiming my
can't have
time.
values
Mr. Chairman,
where we
you don't get to just interject, Mr. Chairman.
You know what? I think you've already spoken, so
I
you're
have
out
not
of order.
spoken on this. I borrowed on somebody else's time.
All right, go ahead.
I borrowed somebody else's time, and I will speak.
Well, speak.
this
You all
budget
have put
does
you all have put our
values.
country
It
in
does-
debt.
does
In debt.
reflect
Kids are
values.
graduating from
You're
college
about to put our
with
country in
debt.
$4 trillion more debt.
I don't think you all could find $1 billion
on.
in savings.
Come
You don't
on.
care about the
Come on.
Congressional Budget Office scores because you
Mr.
don't care
Chairman,
what anything
reclaiming my
costs. You
time.
just want to spend
Reclaiming my time.
hard-working American taxpayers' money.
I asked to
Give
restore
him
the
5
time.
minutes. You can talk all you want. I want everyone in America to see how much
Mr.
opposition
Chairman,
you all have to.
You're out of order.
You're
out of order. Your own
here.
chairman,
Go
you're
ahead,
out of
go
order.
ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am offering an amendment this morning here to address the major concern that the vast majority of Americans and especially the constituents in my district have shared with me, which is the unfettered attacks that we've seen over the last 100 days on vital programs that support our communities, whether that's Social Security, Medicaid, food and housing assistance programs, or just the vital programs that people depend on every day. We were just talking about veterans benefits. And in fact, Mr. Chairman, I'm just coming off of a town hall tour across my district. We did 15 town halls across 10 counties in rural and urban New Mexico. We heard from over 15,000 New Mexicans, and the most important issues that we heard in every single town hall, and these were not just people of the same party, these were just New Mexicans across the board from all different ideological backgrounds, all different communities, was that they are afraid right now of what they're seeing with the federal government and cutbacks to Social Security programs, the proposals that are in this reconciliation package that would impact Medicaid, the proposals that are in front of this committee that would cut back the federal workforce that provides Social Security benefits and VA benefits, cuts to housing and food assistance programs, and the general lawlessness that we've seen across the board in the way in which this administration has been carrying out these cuts and have been enabled by the GOP here now, especially with this reconciliation package. So I want to read my amendment. It's very straightforward. It says, the president or any member of the president's cabinet or any officer or employee of a federal agency may not take any action, including an action related to staffing, office realignments, budgetary, data, or operational changes that would impact the delivery or timing of vital services that Americans depend on, including Social Security, Medicaid, food assistance, housing, income supports, or other programs, or two, to attempt to privatize these services or programs. It's a very straightforward amendment. I would hope that my friends across the aisle, of course, I doubt they will, would support this amendment. I hear our friends go on TV daily and say that they have no intent to cut Medicaid, even though their instructions for this reconciliation package say that they're instructing the Committee of Jurisdiction to cut funding by $880 billion. We know that this would impact almost 250,000 New Mexicans and the healthcare system of our entire state. We know that millions of Americans will lose access to healthcare if these Medicaid benefits get cut. We know that over 150,000 New Mexicans, especially our elders, our seniors, and our low-income families, would lose access to food assistance, whether that's SNAP assistance to buy groceries or whether that's school lunches if these cuts go through. And we know that this will also impact our communities across the board in just the basic programs and services, whether it's the VA, Social Security, or any of these programs. So this amendment says that the administration has got to stop doing that because it's hurting the American people. And with that, I yield back.
Now I recognize myself. This amendment introduces policy changes into an otherwise budget-related matter and should receive no further consideration. Furthermore, this amendment does not contain a CBO score as required by reconciliation, so we don't know its impact on the committee's net savings budgetary instructions. For these reasons and the purposes of this committee's reconciliation efforts, I oppose the amendment. Does any other member seek recognition? Yes, Ms. Crockett.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. It's interesting to hear you kind of use the form language of we don't understand the impact. The idea that Ms. Stansbury proposed an amendment that specifically talks about vital programs, literally not extracurriculars, but literally what people depend upon to actually survive and live. And the idea that our retort to whether or not someone will be able to eat, to whether or not someone will have a roof over their head, to whether or not they will have the health care that they deserve, our answer is, well, we don't know what the cost is going to be. Well, I can tell you that for those people that may end up losing their lives, there is no cost that you can tell them that will make them feel better or make this feel like a more American bill, because they would have lost their life, or they would have lost their home, or they would have lost their health care. So I would ask that at least we engage in the conversation so that even if we are not moving forward on this in the moment, we evidence to all of our constituents that we actually care and believe in these vital government programs. I'll yield.
The gentlelady yield to me?
Yes, I'll yield to the ranking member.
Thank you. Just in furtherance of, I fully support the comments just made by the gentlelady from Texas. And I also want to point out that Ms. Stansbury's amendment is one of preservation. So she's acting courageously to defend the benefits that she describes in her amendment, which would be the delivery and timing of services, and including Social Security, Medicaid, food, housing, income supports, and other existing federal programs. So she's defending the current level of benefits. That is known. That is not something that CBO needs to do a study on. It's what we are spending today. So the objection that we don't know the cost or the impact is not true. We know exactly to the penny what the costs of those benefits are to Social Security, to Medicaid, to food assistance and housing. Those are known quantities, and so I disagree with the assessment that part of a reason for denying the propriety of this amendment is because there are unknown questions on the budgetary side. And I would yield to the gentleman, Mr. Frost.
Thank you, and I yield to Ms. Stansbury.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, I want to make clear and build on what Mr. Lynch is saying here. First of all, this is just preserving the existing programs that Americans are already depending on and are speaking loud and clear. In fact, the polling shows this week that 2/3 of Americans are completely opposed to the cuts that DOGE and Elon Musk have put on these programs. And I hear people in this chamber every single day trying to claim that they're not impacting real Americans, that these are just paid protesters. Well, let me tell you, I was in community after community in my district over the last couple of weeks, and I had people show up crying, people saying that their cancer treatments could be terminated if Medicaid goes away, people who say they will lose everything. They will not be able to put a roof over their head or food on the table if these cuts go through. people who are frightened by what they see is the absolute attack on their civil liberties and free speech and their freedom. And I actually went to the Social Security office in my district last week and was denied entry and told to call a regional office after I had an appointment, and spoke to people who are waiting, who have literally been waiting for days and weeks because Elon Musk has crashed the Social Security system, firing people. Their computer systems are down. Our call centers are completely overwhelmed, and people cannot get appointments for months. This is what's happening in America right now. And that is why I introduced this amendment, to protect those programs and to fight for the American people and to fight for the programs that we know they depend on so that they can survive. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Green.
Hi. I'd like to point something out that our Democrat colleagues know this, because they did reconciliation before when they were in charge. And, you know, it may be hard for some of the freshman Dems to understand, but this is not a policy debate. That's not what reconciliation is. This is a budget process. And so for the American people watching at home, our Democrat colleagues are sitting here trying to score points and spread more lies and divisiveness about Republicans in order to spread more garbage across the country. But this is about budget, Mr. Chairman, and this committee is trying to do serious work, and we need to stay focused on budget, and that's for the American people. And it is very serious that's what we remain focused on here in our work on oversight. And the Democrats know that provisions must be carefully crafted because they did it before, and it has to be scored by CBO to be included in this budget bill. And that's what we're trying to do, Mr. Chairman, and I just wanted to point that out for the people watching at home so they are not swayed by this entertainment today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
What we decide here in the budget is the point I'm trying to make is it's not just dollars and cents. It's about where that money goes and what purposes and what priorities it reflects. And those, you know, governing is about making decisions. And we choose to fund things that in this country we have honored for a very long time. And that, you know, I have to say, in my 25 years in Congress, we have had very little disagreement on funding veterans' benefits. I have to say that. I don't think I could count on one hand the time we had disagreements over 25 years when we talk about how do we care for our veterans, things like that. And I miss that, because now we're fighting tooth and nail about whether we're going to lay off 80,000 employees at the VA. What I'm saying is that, sure, it's about the budget, but underlying that budget is our priorities as a country, what we consider to be worthwhile. And I feel that veterans' benefits are worthwhile. Veterans' health care is worthwhile. The way we treat our federal employees is important. It is intrinsic to the work of the federal government and how we help the most vulnerable, as well as, you know, average everyday Americans on Social Security, on Medicaid. So I've had layoffs recently in one of my big health centers, community health centers, laid off 60 people in a city that can't afford that. And that's because of decisions that are being made on the budget, on the numbers on the budget. We're going to cut over $800 billion on Medicaid. I've got nursing homes. So I got seniors who are, you know, they can't go out and get another job. They're in nursing homes. Their families are trying to care for them. We're cutting 40% of the income for those long-term care nursing homes for elderly are being impacted by the numbers in this budget. And that's very troublesome. So I'm just saying that this is different. The gentlelady from Georgia is correct. I've been through reconciliation before. I know how this process works, and it is about numbers. And I agree with that point. But this is different. This reconciliation is going after things that have been long respected and honored in this country. And we are changing our ideals and our commitments to people like our own veterans, you know, they want to pull benefits from federal employees. And again, the numbers behind this all, the general purpose here, as you know, Mr. Chairman, is to make a tax cut possible. So we're going to increase the debt. We are. That's the plan here. We're going to increase the debt by, I think, at least $4 trillion, you know, based on what we're looking at right now. And to justify that, we're cutting all this. We're cutting people who, you know, veterans' benefits are different. They're different. They're different and they're special because veterans' benefits are for courageous service previously rendered. We owe this. We owe those benefits. Those wounded veterans lying in VA hospitals all across this country, your state and mine, we owe them for their service. They have delivered. Every one of them, by definition, every veteran who's eligible for this has honorably served this country in uniform, put their life on the line for the benefit of us all. We made a commitment to them. We said, if you come back with wounds, visible or invisible, we will take care of you. We made that promise. Multiple generations of Americans have made that promise. And this budget, these numbers, breach that promise. We break that promise in this bill. First time ever, at least in the 25 years I've been here. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your courtesy, and I yield back.
Any other members seek recognition?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Frost.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, what we're hearing from the Republicans on this committee is laughable in its hypocrisy. They want to hide, they don't want to support the amendment from Ms. Stansbury, which I support, and they want to hide behind the CBO and process. You didn't care what the CBO had to say when you passed the last set of tax cuts for billionaires, the ultra wealthy, and corporations, when the CBO said that it would raise the national debt by trillions. You didn't care. You don't care now. You want to hide behind the CBO because you don't want to pass an amendment that protects Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food, housing, and programs that our constituents support. Then you want to bring up process. If we want to pass the amendment, we can pass the amendment. Don't hide behind process. If you believe that we need to protect Social Security, then vote yes. But don't come here and tell us that we can't pass it, like we don't have the power to simply press the button that says yes on here. It's hypocrisy. This is Republicans on this committee trying to cover up for Donald Trump and themselves from the fact that they want to rob our constituents of earned benefits and things we have fought for because they want to give a massive $7 trillion tax cut that will go to the richest people in this country and put more money in their pockets. And they want us and our constituents to pay for it. They're finding money by stripping for parts the essential services that middle and working class and the fastest growing class of Americans, the working poor, not just depend on, but have earned, and that we have put forward as part of our social construct, that we will take care of each other and we will see this country through the eyes of the most vulnerable. It is despicable. So if you're going to be about cutting these things to help your billionaire donors and corrupt corporations, then just say it. But do not hide behind process in the CBO when you haven't cared about it before. I will yield my time to the ranking member.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Frost. Mr. Kassar, did you desire time? Ms. Crockett?
Yes, please, because Maxwell took us to church. Push the button. Push the button. That is the name of the sermon. Hallelujah. I appreciate that because, honestly, You know, the one thing that I hear in Maxwell, I appreciate that you have been traveling the country and actually listening to people. I appreciate Melanie talking about getting out, listening to people. I've had an opportunity to get out and listen to actual people. And the one thing that I hear is that they ain't following no rules. That's the only thing I hear, is that this administration has not been following any rules and been breaking everything. And so it is weird that we would hide behind process when we are talking about doing good, but to do bad, to fire workers, yes, let's do that. To decide that we are going to try to jerry-rig and do this situation around birthright citizenship, to decide that we are going to try to just write out the Civil Rights Act in the form of an executive order. That I can go on for days about all the things that really have not been a part of the rules, that have only brought about harm. In fact, I still don't understand how or why Elon Musk was allowed to do anything that he was allowed to do. And honestly, I would argue that he was not allowed to do any of the things that he did. And no one argued for any procedures or rules then. So I applaud you, Ms. Stansbury, again, and thank you, Reverend Maxwell, for the sermon.
And if you would
today.
yield back.
I will yield it back to
I
you,
want
sir.
to add on, because you just brought something up, Rosanna Crockett, that reminds me that our colleagues are also saying that we can't vote on this because it doesn't have a CBO score, and because the CBO has not told us the impacts of it. And as a representative in the United States Congress, if you need a CBO score to know the impact of Social Security in your district, if you need a CBO score to know the impact of Medicaid in your district, food in your district, housing in your district, Medicaid in your district, then you need to go back out and speak to the people in your district. I yield back.
Any other members seek
I
recognition?
yield to Representative Crockett.
I just want to be clear, if anybody actually wants to know the impacts, we have it specifically in Georgia 14 as it relates to what's going to happen to Medicaid in Georgia 14. 111,000 children under the age of 19 and 20,000 seniors over the age of 65 will be impacted. As it relates to those that are dealing with food assistance, it will impact 99,000 people in that district. Oh, sorry, I was trying to help.
Any other members seek recognition? Mr. Superman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to speak in favor of the amendment, because all we're trying to do here is say that don't reorganize or cut a department or agency to where you can't deliver the very services that department was created to give to the American people. And so, you know, I've heard from folks that work in my district office about how they're getting calls about OPM becoming even slower processing casework. The Social Security Administration is requiring people to come in person now because of policy changes, yet they cut half the people that worked at the Social Security Administration and closed many offices. So people's appointments are getting canceled, right? And I have story after story after story about people who used to call our office and be able to get in touch with an agency or get their agency problem solved. And now they can't, because some of these cuts and some of these firings now make it so that the very agencies that were developed to provide services to the American people cannot do so anymore. That's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's another way of putting it. And all we're trying to say is don't do that. Stop the cuts if they don't make sense. If their very purpose is to undermine a program, then just say that. If you're trying to cut the Social Security Administration because you don't like Social Security and want to get rid of it, just say that, right? But don't cut half the workforce who's trying to administer that program. And, you know, this stuff about the, you know, cutting the debt and the deficit, I mean, this president is the one that increased the deficit by trillions and the debt by trillions. The last time he said that these tax cuts were actually going to pay down, we're going to start paying down the debt like it's water. That's what he said after the 2017 tax cut. What happened? The deficit and the debt both increased dramatically. We're at 36 trillion now. Then he said tariffs last time would pay down the debt, and that hasn't happened either. Next, he's going to say his golf trips paid down the debt. The reality is this is not about fiscal responsibility. This is about cutting services that help the American people. Also, we can give it to the largest and wealthiest corporations. I yield back. I yield to Ms. Stansbury.
Thank you so much for pointing that out. I also think, Mr. Chairman, just being conscious of language, you know, in this room just a few moments ago, our friends across the aisle used the word garbage to refer to our fight to protect your Social Security. I am so sorry, but seniors, veterans, children whose parents have died, kids on school lunches are not garbage. The American people are asking us to fight for them, and the fight for their rights, for the funding that keeps them alive, the fight to help the people of this country is not garbage. I think that, you know, we're sitting here and the debate has taken this bizarre turn where it's being put forward that somehow we don't care about fiscal responsibility. I'm sorry, that's just baloney, okay? Like, we are all about making the government more efficient. We are all about addressing the needs of the American people. This amendment is about defending the existing programs that keep Americans alive, and neither them or those programs or the federal workers who provide those programs are garbage. These are the American people. These are who we work for. We don't work for Donald Trump. We don't work for the billionaires. And the entire argument that's being put forward here today, that cutting a few little pieces here and there and decimating the federal workforce and these programs is somehow going to save the deficit, is literally a bold-faced lie. The CBO has scored your reconciliation bill. The CBO says it is going to raise the debt by $5 trillion. So if you're going to sit here and say it's not going to raise the debt, you're just lying. That is factually untrue. So if you want to play the CBO score game, let's talk about what this bill actually does. It's going to raise the debt by $5 trillion. It's going to increase deficit spending by $37 trillion over the next 30 years. And it's going to give your billionaire donors and all those guys out there that you're trying to help, including these guys serving in the cabinet, the largest tax break in American history. And how are you going to do it? By balancing the books on federal workers and the elders and seniors and children of this country. And that's why we're fighting. And it's not garbage. And the fight is not garbage. And we are here to defend the people who we work for, not the billionaires. I yield back.
Does any other member seek recognition? Seeing none, the question is now on the Lynch Amendment number 2. Stansbury Amendment. The question is now on the Stansbury Amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to.
Recorded vote requested.
Recorded vote is ordered as previously announced. Further proceedings on the question will be postponed.